This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Agit Moed. Today is the last day of Chol Hamoed, and we're preparing now for Shvi'i Shel Pesach. The Bnei Yisachar brings in his Mamarim on Chodesh Nisan, Maimer Yud Gimel, Kriyas Yamsuf, regarding Minhag Avosenu. The custom in Klal Yisrael was to make all appointments, to make all appointees for position in the Jewish people. That was performed on the seventh day of Pesach, Shvi'i Shel Pesach. They would appoint the Rashi HaKahal and the leaders of the congregation specifically on Shvi'i Shel Pesach. Says the Bnei Yisachar, that is because the very first appointment in the Jewish people, the very origins of Malchus Beis David, was at the Yam Suf, when Nachshon ben Aminadav, the Mata Yehuda, jumped into the Yam until his nostrils, and at B'Mesiras Nefesh, and he was Zoichet to Melucha for him and his Shevet for all time. So therefore, since the origins of Malchus begin at the Yam Suf, B'Shvi'i, therefore, from there on, all appointments in the Jewish people were traditionally took place on Shvi'i Shel Pesach. In fact, the Bnei Yisachar says, based on the Gemara in Sotah Lam and Zayin, even Shevet Binyamin, who the pasuk says Binyamin Tza'ir Roidem, Binyamin too jumped into the Yam. They also were Zoicha to Melucha Lefisha, and they were Zoicha to Melucha from Sha'ol HaMelech. However, the Bnei Yisachar explains further. The leaders of the community are called Parnasei Hadar. Like we find many times, the generation that you're mefarnes, like the Gemara says in Brachos and Dav Chavches. Why are the leaders of the generation called Parnasim? Says Bnei Yisachar, because through the Moishel and through the Nasi, in accordance with how they guide and direct and lead the people, to that extent we have Parnasa, like the pasuk says, Vayhi bimei shvoid hashoftim. So the shoftim were lacking, and Chazal say, Dor sheshaftu eshofteim, Vayhi rav haaretz. There wasn't Parnasa until Boaz got up, and then there was satiri in the world, because in the merit of the proper shofet, Hashem is mefarnes the people. Therefore, the Nasi and the Moishel, whose madrich the generation, is called the Parnes. Now, Chazal say, Koshin mezainos shel Adam kekriyas Yamsuf. The food, a person being supported is as difficult as the splitting of the sea. So on this great day, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the miracle of Kriyas Yamsuf, which was one of the most astounding and outstanding miracles of all time, certainly it would be easy for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be goyzer Parnasa Tova to Klal Yisrael, even if we don't have a zechus. So on this day, where the Rebbe performed such a great miracle of Kriyas Yamsuf, certainly he could be mefarnes us and provide us with Parnasa. In fact, says the Bnei Yisachar, he heard from the great Rabbi Hersh Zhiditchov, that if you look in the Chumash regarding the Yom Tov of Pesach, it says Bayom HaRishon Mikra Kodesh, and it doesn't say that there's any dispensation for Oichal Nefesh, and then it says Bayom HaShvi'i Mikra Kodesh, and the heter of Oichal Nefesh is said specifically for the seventh day. Why? Because since Kashin Mezainos of Sha'adam Kriyas Yamsuf, therefore on this day of Kriyas Yamsuf, this is the source of Parnasa, so therefore the heter of Oichal Nefesh, the dispensation, the leniency of providing for food needs is written specifically on the seventh day, because the seventh day of Pesach is the source, is the makar of Parnasa for the year. Because since this is the day of Kriyas Yamsuf, and if the Rebbe Shem could perform Kriyas Yamsuf, certainly he's able to be mefarnes us. Therefore, this is the day of great Parnasa, and the heter of Oichal Nefesh was said the Davka on Shvi'i Shel Pesach, and from there we extrapolate to other Yomim Tovim. And this is another reason, says the Bnei Yisachar, why the Parnasei Hadar, who are so critical to the state of Parnasa for Klal Yisrael, their appointments are made specifically on Shvi'i Shel Pesach, the day of Parnasa Yisrael, Kashin Mezainos Shel Adam Kekriyas Yamsuf, and therefore the Parnasim of Klal Yisrael were appointed specifically B'Shvi'i Shel Pesach. May we all be Zoicha to a Mekar of Shefa, Bracha, V'Hatzlacha, U'Parnasa Toiva, Lanu U'Lachol Yisrael. Amen. Wishing everyone a Chag Kosher V'Sameach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.